I've been fascinated with death and dying for as far back as I could remember, at least 5 or 6 years old. I remember going to bed at night and crying every night, crying myself to sleep, thinking about the inevitable death that will come to us all. I remember crying thinking about my grandmother, who was at that time 60, and I remember thinking as a either 5 or 6, as a 5 or 6 year old, I don't want grandma to die. Actual hysterical crying on a nightly basis when I realized that we all die. And here I am today in my favorite place, the cemetery. Let's talk about death. I'm dying, you're dying, we're all dying, we're all going to die. It's Saturday, a couple of weeks before Halloween, and of course, the cemetery is busy today, busier than I've ever seen it. But people walk around as if they're on some kind of a tour, as if they came to see ancient tombstones, ancient burial grounds for other people who have died, never thinking to themselves that, oh yeah, I'm going to be here too soon. We all are, but that thought never crosses their mind. You know, I've been fascinated with death for as long as I can remember. From that time when I was 5 or 6, when I had my first existential crisis that is still ongoing to this very day. I used to visit cemeteries as a child with my family, and I was in heaven. I loved it. I couldn't wait for Sunday to roll around when my uncle was going to take us to the cemetery. Back then it was in Brooklyn, some beautiful cemeteries in Brooklyn. But there are cemeteries scattered all over the New York Metropolitan Avenue. Very historic, very rich, very well-to-do, famous people. I'm in a cemetery today where I just passed the Rockefeller Mausoleum. Most of us will never be able to afford such a grand mausoleum. But all the money, all the power, all the fame in the world that it took to build that mausoleum means nothing, because they're dead, just like I'll be dead, just like you'll be dead in the not too distant future. So money cannot extend your life by 1 minute. And it's very sad. So as an adult, to this very day, I am very much aware of our mortality, my mortality. Everyone dies. And it's something that resonates with me deeply. And that's probably why I became an artist. Because in my work, in my photography, I like to show themes of death and isolation and human suffering. You know, when I go to a restaurant, let's say, or a movie, or anywhere where there's a public gathering, I look around and I see crowds of people laughing, drinking, eating, enjoying. And in the back of my mind is that ever-present thought that, yeah, you're having fun now, but you're going to die soon. And people think, oh yeah, we're all going to die. It's in the distant future, and as if it's an event that's never going to happen. But whether it's next year, 5 years, 10 years, or 50 years, it goes in the blink of an eye. when you put it in comparison to eternity. And this isn't a video about finding religion or, anything like that. Life after death. I mean, look, we all hope that there's something after we go. I believe there is. Because if there isn't, this whole existence has been pretty pointless. What would morality, how would that come into play if in the end it doesn't matter what you do on the planet? But I like to think that there is life after death. But hopefully there is. But all those people in those restaurants and those plays and those movie theaters and at those concerts and at those public places, people you pass every day on the street, walking to work, people you work with, I don't think most of them ever really think about their own mortality. And the funny part is, in 50 or 60 years, that whole batch of people, your entire circle of friends, family, people who inhabit this planet, the majority of them will be replaced by a new batch of people going through the same folly day in and day out. It's really a tragedy, the human experience, if you think about it. People pretending they're happy, because most people pretend they're happy, but deep down they know they're not. Most people just don't want to think about it. And that's why you have more than half the country on SSRIs to artificially mask their awareness of the tragedy of existence. Now, some listening to this might think, "Oh, you're depressed. You need medication." But I don't think it's depression. And believe me, I've tried SSRIs at one or two points in my life. All they do is dull your emotions. They make you even less human than we have become today. So I'd rather be me and live with this experience, and I just like being aware of it. I think that's the difference. I like being aware of the predicament humanity is in, rather than pretend everything is great, everything is wonderful. Oh, I'm going to a play on Friday, and oh, wasn't that show last night at the comedy club so much fun, and I can't wait to see this movie that's coming out on Netflix next month. It's all bullshit. It really is. So I like to drown myself in the arts, poetry, music. I listen to Morrissey quite a bit, the Smiths, and some of that music is very heavy, and it has inherent themes of death and depression and human tragedy, but isn't that what life is in reality? One big, long tragedy. Speaking of poetry, if you haven't read or seen a performance of Edgar Allan Poe's The Conqueror Worm, I highly suggest you do. Maybe I'll add, it's a very short poem, 5 minutes to read, but it sums up the human predicament so eloquently, so perfect. Basically, it says that we're all living in a charade. It's all a charade, as the British would say, and life is a play, and we're all actors playing a part, and in the end, the worm is victorious. That's hence the poem's called The Conqueror Worm. In the end, the worm conquers all. Because we die and we become food for the worms. So yeah, so I like, that's the kind of poetry I like. Morrissey is definitely the kind of music I like, amongst other things. But, Morrissey in an interview was asked about depression because he suffered with depression all his life. And he named it the black dog. He said his depression is like a black dog. It's always there. It disappears during brief periods of happiness, joy. I think he said in a recent interview with Larry King, well, maybe 10 years ago was the interview, that when he's performing on stage, it disappears. But then when the performance is over, enters in the black dog. And that is really a perfect way of saying it. It is really, depression is like a black dog. And it's just always there in the background. And you know it's always there. Even when you're happy, you just know the black dog is off to the side over there, but it's not going away. He'll be back. He's just waiting. So, just because you can't see the black dog doesn't mean that he's not there. If you can relate to this, let me know. Leave a comment. Or maybe I'm the only one in the world who thinks this way. But I try to live an artful life as much as I can, but I always come back here to the cemetery. Whether it's this cemetery, another cemetery, it's no cemetery in particular. In this particular cemetery, I have no family here, so there's no reason for me to come, other than I feel very much at peace and at home, and I like the reality of a cemetery. The reason I keep coming back to the cemetery is because it's like a jolt of reality that reminds me of what's coming for all of us. So, love your family, love your friends, try to go through life. Love your family, love your friends, go through life being as gentle and as kind as you can, because eventually there's a place for you and me here. One of the things I really hate are superficial people. People who spend pointless hours obsessed with nonsense, such as their bodies. I have a few friends, so-called friends. I really have no friends, but I have a few acquaintances who spend an abnormal amount of time in the gym, working out, doing all sorts of physical activity, exercises, things like that. And coming here makes you realize just how pointless it is. They say, oh, well, if I could extend my life 10 years, so what? 10 years, who gives a shit? And really, when you're 90 years old, when you're 80 years old and you extend your life to 90, in the end, does it really matter? It's all silliness. It really is. If people thought more about their mortality while they were alive, they would live better lives. They would truly live. The alternative is we can all go on just pretending that everything is okay. And our living situation will remain as it is today for eternity. We'll always have the house with the white picket fence. We'll always have the kids. We'll always have the job. We'll always have our health. We'll always have everything just perfect, just the way it is now. Our favorite restaurant will always be there, and we'll be going there every Friday night for millions of years. But the reality is, that's not how it works. So I hope this video didn't depress you, because that was not my purpose. My purpose was to remind you about the brevity of life. And things will not always be the way they are today, because they can't be. Things are constantly changing. Our lives are in flux all the time, and we're getting older by the minute. Have you ever seen an old friend, or so-called friend, bumped into an old friend, I should say, who you haven't seen in maybe 3 years, 4 years? And have you ever noticed how in such a short time, 3 or 4 years, they've actually aged? You can see the age in just 3 or 4 years in someone's face. You could see the wrinkles. You could see the crow's feet, the gray hair. You see, we are constantly decaying. We're dying. We're all dying slowly. Until one day, we stop breathing. And that, my friends, is just how it is. So, if you have a girlfriend, love your girlfriend. If you have a boyfriend, love your boyfriend. Love your parents, love your children. Because all we have is right now. And the moment you realize that all you have is right now becomes a memory, distant. Because there is no now. The moment you realize it's now becomes in the past. Now, the present moment moves to the past. Be nice to everyone. Be gentle, be kind. The world needs love right now more than anything. Don't be hurtful. Don't say mean things to people. You don't know how far those vibrations resonate out into the universe. You know, it's funny, when you say something mean to someone, you think, oh, it was just a slip of the tongue and it's over. And sometimes it is over, but other times that meanness lingers in the other person's heart. Sometimes for days, weeks, months, sometimes for years. So be nice to everyone. Be kind. We don't know how long we have left. Take care of your animals. Animals look to us for love and to take care of them. And people are very cruel sometimes. Remember, love one another. Love your friends, love your family. That's the only answer. Because in the end, nothing else will matter. Until next time, peace.